All right, folks, we are back with another edition of Cape Ann Today's Week in Review, where Heather and I go over all the interviews we've done for 1623 Studios. And once again, Heather, we had another great week. I was absent for a lot of it, so you filled in admirably. And you started things off with Dr. Mark Konecki once again.
Yes, we started the conversation talking about rage. Rage feels like it's something that's kind of a symptom of us being home managing these issues for 2 months. And the conversation moved on to teenagers and early 20-year-olds who are home from college. And we ended with teen marijuana use. And Dr. Mark Konecki is not a fan. He doesn't mind adult use of marijuana, but he feels as if the brain development in young people is too important and marijuana interferes with that. So it's a great interview. People should listen.
Yeah, check that out. And then we had another fun conversation with Les Bartlett. He is our Cape Ann historian. We've been working with Les now for a few weeks in a row on different little historiettes about the area, and he spoke about the Gloucester Punch. You know what that is, Heather?
I do know what it is. It's not something to drink. It's a car. It's a car that was sent by the city of Gloucester to promote the city of Gloucester in the early 20s. It drove from Cape Ann to Washington, D.C. to Florida. And its whole mission was to tell people how great it is in Gloucester. So it's a nice story.
Yeah, we wanted to chat with a lot of people from Rockport this week as well, because it's been a little quiet getting news from that section of Cape Ann since the pandemic hit. So one of the people we spoke with was Ross Brackett. Of course, his family owns Brothers Brew Coffee Shop and Brackett's on Main Street, and he chatted about how they were adjusting.
Yes, it's always great to talk to Ross, and it was good to get to Rockport. And this town is opening up, and it was great to hear that the donuts will be served curbside these days.
Yeah, I actually visited my parents right after that interview, and they had already stopped by Brothers Brew and had a bag of donuts on the counter at the house. So I tore into that.
You know what? Memorial Day weekend is always the weekend my family gets Brothers Brew donuts. It's just we get them other times, but Memorial Day weekend is sort of a religious date for us. So we will be down there.
Nice. We continue that conversation along that thread with Charles Gladstone. He is the owner of Feather and Wedge, and he had a couple of cool ideas for how they're going to cope with everything.
Yes, I love Feather and Wedge. It's another great Rockport restaurant. They're doing their fine dining menu to go these days. And in the interview, he talks about some of the great items on the menu, but they will be encouraging picnics this summer. So they will be creating picnic baskets, I believe. And we talked about how Rockport is such a great town for that sort of experience. Find a bench, find a rock. You've got the harbor views, you've got beaches. There's so many little nooks and crannies where people can take a meal outside and find a safe place to sit. So we talked about that with Charles, and I think it's something that people should really consider.
It's nice because there are just some places that can't really do al fresco dining unless the street's closed before them. So yeah, to be able to walk around with anything from a coffee or an ice cream cone to dinner or lunch, it's a great spot. And Rockport's got a million little hidden nooks and crannies that people can enjoy themselves in. As always, every week, we work with the Gloucester Daily Times. They're our partners for Cape Ann Today. And Heather spoke with Taylor Bradford about a couple of cool subjects.
Yeah, well, one was a sad one. There was the loss of Liz Duff in this past week. She was beloved in the community. She did a lot of environmental work. She worked for the Audubon Society, and that was a sad story. But we also talked about fishermen who are some Gloucester fishermen who are about to become movie stars. They will be featured on the Discovery Channel, I think tonight. And Taylor also provided sort of a step back, a long view of what she has seen from the Cape Ann community for the past 2 months. It was a really lovely observation.
And we'll be chatting with her as usual come next week after the Memorial Day week. And then Heather also had a nice conversation with the artist Anessa Mahalik, who we actually spoke with at the Rocky Neck Cultural Center a few months ago.
Yes, Vanessa is a lovely artist. She does sort of expressionistic work, and she is also a psychiatric nurse. So she has taken some time in the past 2 months to do some paintings that represent her work as a nurse and the nursing profession. So it's not what you usually see in hanging on walls, and the paintings are beautiful. and they're really emblematic of this time. It's a nice conversation.
Another interview that you did on your own, Heather, was with Dick Prouty of Town Green 2025.
Yes, Town Green 2025 has just started a webinar series. The first one was yesterday at 3 o'clock, and the speaker was Ken Kimmel from the Union of Concerned Scientists. He talked about how the COVID-19 crisis has lessons for the climate change movement. So that webinar can be viewed, as I said, it happened yesterday, it can be viewed on the Town Green 2025 website, but there are 3 more of these webinars coming up, and they're all really interesting ways to, positive views and interesting ways that suggested to affect climate change. So watch out for those. If you want to know the dates and the speakers, check out the Town Green 2025 website.
Nice. And then, of course, our Rockport foodie tour continued with a stroll down Bearskin Neck as we chatted with Jed Coonley. He is the owner of Bean and Leaf Cafe and the ice cream store. And he had a little different perspective on how things have been going around Bearskin Neck lately.
Yes, the town of Rockport had made very specific rules for Bearskin Neck. It was residents only. So Jed Coonley's businesses are on Bearskin Neck. And it's kind of interesting because just a few feet up the street is Feather and Wedge, who were able to serve non-residents. So there was a little bit of a friction, but that seems to be all resolved. In fact, Jed emphasized the fact that he feels as if one good thing that's come out of the crisis is that there's been a camaraderie among business owners in Rockport that had not been there before. So that's a nice story.
Should be a big weekend for strolling and ice cream in Rockport. We had another bunch of laughs, as we do every week, with Erica Brown. She is the publisher and editor of the Manchester Cricket. She's one of our favorite interviewees, Heather. And she shared a couple of fun stories, including one about a specific character over in Essex who has faced the board over there. He sort of, met his comeuppance at a board meeting. And then also she talked a little bit about the local real estate market.
Yes. Characters apparently do not stop being characters, even though there's a pandemic happening. So that's the lesson there. And it's a fun interview. It's a fun thing to listen to.
Yep, so check that out. And then I was actually at 1623 Studios on Pleasant Street while you were neck deep in a conversation with Mayor Theken.
Yes, we had a beautiful interview. I have to say, she was basically freestyling Thomas Jefferson, talking about civil rights and respect and what rights mean, that we all have rights. And, if you're too close, we can't start policing each other, because we have to have not only rights, but respect each other's rights. I can't say it. She said it really well, actually. But mostly she was talking about opening up the beaches this weekend, because the beaches and parks in Gloucester will be open. All of them will be for residents only, except Winger Chic, which has a few. But check out the details in that interview.
Yeah, and somehow she's cramming in 25 hours a day, as are all of the municipal leaders throughout the last 10 weeks or so. So hats off to them. Next week, we plan on chatting with Rob Lebo. He is the superintendent for Rockport Schools. I think 1623 is actually working with Gloucester High School to see what we're going to do about graduations, which will be coming up ASAP. Also, we'll talk with Emily Douglas. She is the coordinator for all events at the Elks at Bass Rock, to see how that industry is coping and everything, and having to shift weddings for 12 to 18 months down the line. We're also speaking with folks from the Baskets for Kids and Teens in Gloucester and Rockport group. That's a popular group on Facebook, and they are doing random acts of kindness and delivering baskets to local kids. And Heather, you have a couple others lined up for us.
Yes, we will be speaking to Susan Dowdy, who is the caregiver support specialist for senior care. It's understandable that caregivers are under a lot of stress right now, and Susan will have some advice and tips for where they can find support. And also one more, just remembered, Sean Horgan from the Gloucester Times has written a great series on the 1918 pandemic, and we will be talking to him about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been loving getting to know Sean the last 2 weeks, doing interviews with him too. So I'm really looking forward. It's an awesome series. We've been working with him, trying to help get him images for that, and it's a killer profile. So check that out if you can. Have a fun and safe holiday weekend. Heather and I will be back with you starting next Tuesday, and we'll do this all over again. We want to thank the Gloucester Daily Times and our sponsors, Jamari Series LLC. So Heather, great job. I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, Kory.
Bye.
Bye.